Patrick, we just completed Analysis April, a number of open source tools that were discussed during community calls. Later in the month, more open source talk during DevCon. I kind of wanted to talk about the overall reason that you set this month to really talk about these tools, and maybe a little bit about what you heard in a couple of those earlier community calls.
Yeah, this year we've been focusing on trying to align the community towards generating guideline-driven evidence, and we've got various network studies that are underway, and we've been working through this journey of making sure that we specified our research question, developing our phenotypes, and in April we've been actually focused on understanding how the Odyssey tool stack can be used to generate that reliable evidence for those important research questions. And so I really appreciated this month being able to do a deep dive into some of those tools. And it started with Anthony Senna highlighting the tremendous progress the community's made with Strategus. Strategus is now providing us a single workflow that allows for us to use all of the different advanced analytic packages for characterization, estimation, and prediction into one common rubric so that any researcher with any research question, whether it be any of those use cases or all of them, can actually design and execute a study in a consistent manner. By having the Strategus workflow process for us, it means that data sources can actually test their environments and be ready to participate in studies. And it means researchers can actually specify their questions in a consistent way that can given a common input specification, can execute analysis in an identical way and produce a consistent results schema that allows for consistent navigation of all the results. I think this is a huge maturation in terms of the process we've been making in the community to make it more efficient, reproducible, and transparent about how we conduct network studies across the Odyssey Evidence Network.
We had a session led by Martin Van Kessel, discussing the treatment patterns tool, which is a Darwin tool and a tool that was first developed by Anik Marcus, who had a great month herself. She got her PhD at Erasmus. Tell me a little bit about the treatment patterns tool. What came out of that session?
Yeah, first, a big congratulations to Anik for defending her dissertation. And it's really nice to actually see the full journey from a PhD student's research to develop an open source tool, to see that tool actually developed into a production grade application that is now being used to support EMA decisions through the Darwin EU initiative, and to see the full life cycle of that Darwin project making its way into our Odyssey Hades ecosystem. What Martin shared with us was the treatment patterns package as a way for us to evaluate treatment utilization patterns across data. And when we look across our guideline-driven evidence studies, many of the questions that people sought to answer was questions around, are guidelines actually being followed in real-world practice? And what are the sequence of medical interventions that a given patient experiences through the natural history of disease progression? And this tool builds off of much of the research that we've done as a community, and now provides us a consistent manner in which we can design and execute these types of characterization studies. It's all too often people get excited about doing causal inference with estimation or applying machine learning algorithms for patient-level prediction, but actually the vast majority of questions that people want answers to are in that characterization space. And so it's really important for us to continue to develop tools in this space, and I fully expect that the treatment patterns package will be an important standardized tool as part of our Odyssey ecosystem moving forward.
You mentioned characterization, and obviously that's one of the main pillars of Odyssey research. The other two are estimation and prediction. We really focused a call to highlight some of the recent advances and the tools that are available for that type of research. Can you talk about both estimation and prediction?
Sure. For estimation, it was great to have George Ripsack and Mark Suchard highlight two of our core packages for doing causal inference. We talked about the cohort method package, which allows for us to do a comparative cohort design and the use of large-scale propensity score adjustment. And we also talked about the self-controlled case series package. And as Mark did a nice job of highlighting, our current recommended best practices in Odyssey is not just to grab a choice of an analysis method, but rather use multiple methods at our disposal and use objective diagnostics to determine which of those methods produce reliable evidence. And so really glad to see that using the Strategus framework, if we're interested in a causal inference question, that we can apply multiple modules to that and to produce evidence that can complement and provide more reliable evidence as a result. It was also great to have Ross and AIC highlight the tremendous work that's been done on the patient-level prediction package. To be able to train models across our network and to also be able to externally validate those models is extraordinarily difficult without having a standardized data model and a standardized tool. And patient-level prediction makes it very easy to apply a large bevy of machine learning algorithms to train models and see how well they work. And I feel very proud to see how much our patient-level prediction package is really representing the current state-of-the-art for machine learning and electronic health record data. And increasingly, we're seeing that questions of characterization that start with things like how often does something happen, they progress into causal inference where we're trying to understand why. But ultimately, we also want to know in whom are these risks going to happen. And that's why our characterization, estimation, and prediction packages are all quite complementary, and why it's really valuable that we now have a common framework with Strategus to be able to implement each of these modules to provide a holistic picture of evidence to support our investigations.
All these presentations are available within this newsletter or on our community calls page. You also see the videos now from DevCon, which was held, our 4th annual DevCon, held late in April, and provided kind of an overall look at the open source ecosystem. Just a great event that we're able to have every year and bring developers together and talk about what's happening and kind of where we're moving.
Yeah, I think that the value that I see from DevCon, I appreciate Paul Naji's leadership and the rest of the open science community, is really bringing together both developers who have a common interest in developing open source solutions, but also trying to bring together users in the broader community so that we can take advantage of these innovations and actually make use of them when we're generating evidence. So it's great to see so much development, progress that's being made, multiple perspectives in terms of development that were shared. But really, more importantly, it was to see the community spirit of trying to bring together open source solutions as part of our goals to improve the lives of patients around the world.
A terrific month. We have another great month coming up. We have a session on evidence synthesis. We're going to hear about the maternal health fellowship program that went on over the last year. We'll hear a little bit more about these guideline-driven evidence review studies or guideline-driven evidence studies that are going on. And then a session focused on the Collaborator Showcase. A reminder, the Collaborator Showcase deadline to submit for the Global Symposium is going to be July 1st. So that session on May 27th will be a great chance to talk about the research that people are doing, maybe hear about, offer some input for other people, collaborate. It should be a great month of community calls. I hope everyone is able to join us. Thanks for joining today, Patrick.
Thanks, Greg. Science!